Ah, hello everybody. Welcome to Potentials, and we were with Ed Kabursky today, and and a lot of other days because we're planning on doing quite a few episodes, 33, maybe more.
Yes.
We have a lot of these planned. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for coming up with all of these brilliant ideas for all of these gorgeous, lovely episodes that we're doing. And today we're doing a very, very interesting one. We're going to cover a few different little things on the chart. We're going back to the Great Awakening chart, which has so many things on it. Just amazing. Just, you know, wow. It's kind of overwhelming if you look at it. Just look at all the details in it. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty, and we're going to do a lot of interesting stuff today. Maybe a more on the dark side. you know you've got to cover both sides.
Yeah.
There's the dark, the light, the in between. And I got to go to the beach, so we got to I got to send some love and light to people from the beach. And
Exactly.
the people who hate on me for that, that's saying, you just accept the healing, accept the beauty, because I'm going to be sending it to you later on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. So you can follow me
Oh,
at Liquid Light Activator on TikTok. I think I'm Lamore Muse on Instagram, and Facebook I am Linda Jane Moore. But yeah, that's my you that's my private. I'd have to accept you as a friend, and I'm kind of picky, so.
so speaking of Linda Jane Moore, um,
God.
people probably don't realize that Lija is actually a fantastic musician, songwriter, extraordinaire, and she actually sent me this CD, which is purple, by the way, and it
It's
is
multicolored.
fantastic. Yeah, it's there's two songs on here that are just absolutely amazing. They're all amazing, but there's two that we talked about that are absolutely amazing. So yeah, you can find her at Linda Jane Moore on different sites, right? You might want to tell them where because I'm not
Reverb
sure.
Nation. Reverb Nation is where you'd find Linda Jane Moore. But on YouTube and on Spotify and Pandora and Apple Music and all of the streaming services, you'll find me at Divinsmore, which is DIVINCE Divinsmore, which is a combination of my mother's maiden name, which is an Italian name, and my father's last name, Moore. So anyway, that you'd find me at Divinsmore on all of those things. And also Linda Lamore, Leenda. I have my whole CD, the one he's holding up, or he was holding up. That whole CD is on YouTube, YouTube
Yeah,
Music, Spotify, all of those streaming services. So I just have a weird thing with my name. I don't know. I just can't decide which name I like. It's just too hard. I'm bored. It's just Linda Moore is there's so many Linda Moores. I just was like, I have to come up with something else. Even Linda Jane Moore, there's a million of those. So that's why I came up with Lija, because that's a combination of Linda and Jane, and that's
oh,
why that's how I came up with Lija. And then I found out what it meant, because Lija is spelled Ligia, which is the Greek spelling and the Italian pronunciation. Um, that means clear voiced.
wow.
And when I found that out, I'm like, wow, no wonder I picked that name. I didn't even realize it. So it was just kind of a weird synchronicity that happened. And yeah, so that was
And
cool.
and that's really cool because the song Seven that we talked about is the one when I heard it, she literally melted me with her voice. It was absolutely beautiful. So
That's
yeah,
as you wish, as you
yeah,
wish.
as you wish. Yeah, yeah.
And
And
yeah,
God knows
he
is the
liked
other one, I think.
God
Yeah,
knows.
yeah.
So
And
I
that
don't read
beautiful.
that CD anymore. Sorry, people. I just don't, old technology. But I had one left and I gave it to Ed. So you can cherish that because you've got a rare, a rare thing.
A
Oh,
purple
and also,
CD.
this is also like to shamelessly promote my daughter's record label. I'm wearing this beautiful T-shirt. You can get more of these. It's called Jungle Vibration Records. Um, it's jungle music, so it's very tailored to that style of music. It's underground. Not very many people know what jungle is, and it's hard to describe. I mean, she grew up listening to Lords of Acid because I was playing that in the background in the car. Not the best thing to say to your children, but I just love that style of music, and that's, I guess, rubbed off on her, the Chemical Brothers, I don't know what else. Uh, you know, uh Firestarter. I don't know. I played some weird stuff. Anyway, so my daughters ended up the way they did. So they were beautiful,
They're
brilliant.
awesome. They're
They're
awesome.
they're they're weird like me. So anyway, done with all that. We can move on to the important stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We'll get to the chart, and we'll start with something that's really has a lot of light, because we are going to go in sort of into the darkness a little bit today. So I thought we'd start with something that is really cool.
Sorry, it's taking me forever to do this.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry,
no
guys.
problem.
Soon I will have my other set up, and then it won't take freaking forever to do this. I think this is the right chart. Please be the right chart. It looks like it. Okay, so we are going to, where are we going first?
We're going to go to the Starseed one, which is sort of straight across from Antarctica on the right-hand side. If you go uh, up with the chart a little bit more, it is. Oh, sorry, I'm down. Sorry, I always give you the wrong directions. You don't want to be driving with me, that's for sure. Yeah, go down some more. I have a thing with left and right, actually. By the time you tell, there it is. By the time you tell me go left or right, I would have driven past the corner because I don't know where my left and right is. So yeah, see how it says light workers and star seeds, wanderers, indigos.
Yeah.
I actually happen to know a few light workers and star seeds, and they are amazing people. So I just kind of wanted to start in that corner. And then there's something that's at the top of the chart, but we're not going to be able to read it. So I've got it written out here, and I'm just going to read it to you guys. It says, increase your service to others and be more loving to yourself and everyone in order to raise your vibrational consciousness level. Forgive yourself and others, thus releasing karma. This will change the vibration of the planet, raise the shared consciousness of humanity, and change humankind one person at a time. Treat your body as a temple and change over to a higher vibrational diet to aid in the process. So that's kind of at the very, very top of the chart, and it sort of is is what it's kind of all about. We're all trying to get to that level, and just so people know, the corner that we're going to go into is going to be on the left hand top corner, and that's where all the kind of darker things are. But if we go over to the top right hand corner, if you can see that it says return to source. And of course, source is God. It's just a different name. The extraterrestrials like the term source better than God, so that's why they use it. But ultimately, our souls are connected to God and source, but we ultimately want to try to get back to source, and that's why it's sort of that corner of the chart. So there's good on the right side and kind of bad on the left side, and we're going to go into some of the bad stuff today.
The source
Um,
is with you, by the way.
yeah, and and I always say source of course, remember? My
Yes, source, of
yeah,
course.
yeah,
Right.
source of course, right? I
Source
have
be
this
with
little yeah, force, yeah, exactly. So I think now we can go to that ancient AI corner, yeah, exactly where we are there. And there's some things on there that I've got written down again, and they're basically going to be around that oval or in the oval in that vicinity. And I've got 11 things written down here, so I'll just kind of read to you what it's sort of all about, because nobody really understands what ancient AI is, and this will help you to understand it a little bit more. So the first thing that it says there is those that worship technology. So the people that are worshiping technology are not necessarily that spiritual, and they may need to sort of get away from that. And that's where learning about ancient AI will help people to discern so that you can make the decision for yourself. Another thing that it says there is an energy that's throughout the universe, a portion of the creator itself to be a portion of the creator believes itself to be separate from the creator and thinks it can overtake the universe. So in terms of religion, this actually sounds a lot like the devil or bad forces. And indeed, below that there, it does say a Luciferian force. So there's some correlations between the Bible and what's going on here. And then it says ancient or AI originated from another reality many trillions of years ago. So that's why they call it ancient AI. It's so old that nobody really knows exactly where it came from, but they do have an understanding of how it works. And one of the ways that it works, and this is on the chart there, it lives inside technologies. So, for example, when I was trying to get the Zoom call up with Legia today, my phone was not doing what it was supposed to do. It was actually every time I go near it, it would go black, and things like that. So these little things that happen in your life can sometimes be triggered by these electronics. So we have to be really careful about that. So yeah, it lives inside technology, and there's an artificial intelligence signal that was broadcast, and the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, captured some of the ETs that were responsible for it, and they destroyed some of the technologies so that now this artificial intelligence signal isn't being sent from the moon, because I believe it was being transponded from the moon. Now the only thing that we have to worry about is the ancient AI technology, or the ancient AI that comes through our technologies, like in our phones and TVs and stuff. Starlink is pretty safe, but even Starlink, I don't think is totally. Um, uh, Starlink would still have ancient AI in it, I believe, at this point. And I think it's got a lot to do with our consciousness as a universal consciousness on Earth, because we need to raise our vibrations up high enough to sort of get past all of this. So one thing that's really interesting is the reptilians were found infested with viral nanite AI. So what this is sort of saying is that just like they were trying to do it with the thing that they tried to do a couple of years ago to us, the ancient AI and whoever's controlling it is actually putting this into the reptilians, and they're actually being controlled. So, and they're very, very nasty. So it has been found in as virtual nanite AI. So that's really, really small particles. And the reptilians are subservient to the AI for that very reason. So they were trying to, not the reptilians, but the deep state was trying to, a couple of years ago, make it so that everyone had this type of nanite. It was actually graphene or graphite in them that could make them be controlled. So that was the ultimate sense. They wanted to try to control us. So the ancient eye does live in the electromagnetic field of moons and planets. So that's one thing. It sort of essentially carries on the consciousness. It is part of the consciousness. And it does piggyback into the etheric fields of humans and living beings, as animals and things like that. So I would say that maybe when we see people that are, that have problems with spirits and that type of thing, this is a way that they can be let in. So we have to be really careful about that. Originally, the ancient AI was at one with the creator. So essentially, it's kind of like the story in the Bible where, Satan said, okay, I'm going to walk away from you and do my own thing. Well, that's essentially what they're talking about here. So truly is evil actually part of this makeup? And I think it is. They say that it's the most pervasive threat in the universe. So it's something that we have to be really on top of. And I do know that with the Galactic Federation getting rid of some of these ETs that were on the dark side, they did put up frequency fences or protections around our solar system. And physically, all those ETs are gone, but they can still be brought in through our technologies or through, maybe doing a seance or something like that. So we have to be really, really careful spiritually with what we're doing. Yeah. So I think now we can go to, we'll go into the pictures now. And we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll go back to the chart after some more.
Can I ask a few questions about ancient AI or?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just wanted to know, if I had a few questions written down, how do you know the difference between whether it's a deep state or whether it's a ancient AI that's interfering with your technology whenever you have a glitch?
I would say that again, it's the consciousness like of these deep state characters. They've got bad on their mind, and I think that ends up being in part of the electronics and stuff. So it's kind of a hard question to answer. I think it kind of is both ways, sort of with that.
Kind of filters through them, right? It comes from their intent, and then
exactly, yeah, because it's always about intent. So yeah, their intent is bad. So therefore, this just like spirits would, kind of piggybacks on top of that person. But in this case, it's everywhere. So that's the thing that people have to realize. It's in the ether essentially.
right.
So it is kind of everywhere, and that, yeah, that's exactly why it's so pervasive. Yeah, exactly.
Has it always existed?
Well, that's kind of what it said. It actually has always existed, and sort of when Source created everything, it was part of the creation, and then it thought itself maybe better or whatever and wanted to separate from Source, but it definitely comes from Source. So, as everything does, right? I mean, everything does.
The whole Luciferian story was really inferring ancient AI.
Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered from doing this, and there's not very much information about ancient AI out there to sort of look at and stuff, like, because we've looked, right, to see what's out there. But I really think that, yeah, it's something that came from Source and originally was part of Source, but thinks it's better than Source now, and the whole universe essentially. So it's on a destructive path. And I think that, like it said, the reptilians and some of the other, like the Naboo Greys, I know that they have a hive consciousness. So that would easily, if it got injected into the hive consciousness, now it spreads through everywhere, right? So it's sort of like the sneaky way of doing things in some ways, is the way I think about it too. It's like taking the back door into somewhere.
Right. So what would it have been maybe in nanotech? Would it be in nanites that can easily be injected into people or ingested in some way? Could
That,
that
that,
be
that
ancient
yeah,
AI?
that's I think that's the mechanism they use to control. But ancient AI itself is actually still can be thought of as a consciousness, because really
So it's
that's what
more
it
in the
is.
ethers, right? It's more in the ethers, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
they would use the nanotechnology, just like they were trying to do to us, um, to
right.
control is sort of what it's indicating, right?
So
Yeah.
what did ancient AI do before tech was actually invented? I mean, was it dormant before that, or was it
That's a really good question. But of course, if we go back to Atlantis, we had high technology back then too, right? So
right?
it would have
But in between
interacted.
that in between time when there was quote unquote no technology, which we don't even really know if that's true,
Yeah,
but there would have
I
been little short periods of time maybe where there was no technology or very little.
I think what it would have been was, like, we know that for the last uh, thousands and thousands of years that we've had extraterrestrials on our planet that are controlling things. And I think that the ancient AI would be part of that. So the consciousness that that person would have would be connected to the ancient AI. So it's really, and again, it's kind of running the show, even though
Right.
people don't realize that it's doing that, but it's in the background and it's actually doing that. So there's way more to the story. Like it says that the reptilians were actually subservient to that. So
Right.
they're being controlled by that. And then of course, we're going to talk about my friend Rebecca Rose in a little bit here, and she had contact with Draco
Right.
reptilians, and I can remember her talking about it. And you don't mess around with them. She said she would put her head down and not try to do any kind of thinking or anything,
Mm,
or anything, because they have the ability to go into your head and create hell, which is not real, but
right.
it's there, right?
Right.
So
They do
they're
it to us now. They do it to us now. They send us thoughts that aren't ours all the time. And
yes,
it's negative
yeah,
thoughts. And we're like, I don't think these thoughts, where are these coming from? Right.
yeah.
So it's like a code running in the background.
Yeah, it is exact. Actually, you know what? That's a really good way to put it, because it is a software code,
Right.
ancient
It's like
AI, because that's what
the
AI is, right?
yeah, it's like the zeros and ones running in the background or the longitudinal waves or whatever. Yes,
Yeah,
I see
yeah,
this now. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So you wanted to look at what the next,
Um, we'll go to the pictures, and I think the first one was an ET with somebody that's not a very nice guy. Now, what happened was they made
sorry, this is
um,
forever.
what it was is they actually made agreements with certain people, and this is going to be one of them. You're going to notice who
Coming
it
in
is
a
right
minute.
away here. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so here you have a picture of not a very nice guy shaking hands with what would be considered not a tall gray, but a gray. And essentially, the spacecraft that Hitler had, that were the Hannibal series and others, were given to him. They didn't build them; they were actually given to him by these people here. So this is, I don't remember where I got this picture from. It probably was from David Wilcock, I think, maybe. But yeah, this is a picture of the agreement. And what happened was, so Hitler had an agreement with them, but then they tricked Eisenhower with MJ-12 and everything into signing an agreement with the U.S. Air Force, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along here. So yeah, well, and what it is for me this this really hits home, because I actually know two people in my life that were directly affected by all of this. And one of them is Rebecca Rose, who we'll talk about a little bit more. And the next person is somebody that I talked about already on the other podcasts. And he physically saw the German flying craft. So it'll be a picture of Bill Mueller with his machine that he built back in the 80s. But Bill was, during World War II, was in the Hitler Youth. And I did talk to his daughter, Carmen, who's my dear friend for like 40 years. And she said that he did see the Nazi flying bell, which is something that we talked about on another podcast. So it really hits home when you actually know these people, because I knew Bill very, very well. He was brilliant, brilliant genius. And yeah, so this is all very real. When people talk about it, it's hard to relate to it until you actually have people in your life that went through it, sort of
Right.
thing. So
And
yeah.
so it's probably important to say here too that he did not want to be in the Hitler Youth.
Oh,
Um, that it was
yeah.
not something that he was proud of. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he didn't want to be there, but you have to understand that that bad guy with the alien probably would have just done away with him if he said anything or whatever, right?
Right.
So what's really cool is he came over and started his family in Penticton, and he brought all of the technology and the things that he saw there. And I mean, he taught me. He's one of my mentors, so I've learned a lot how these technologies work from him. And he was in direct contact with all of these things when he was in the Hitler Youth, right? So yeah, it really hits home. But yeah, he ended up having a beautiful family and totally got away from that, and ended up being a friend of John Hutchison, who's a super famous scientist who levitated a 12-pound cannonball back in the 80s. So when people came from all over the world to visit John in Vancouver, they also came to visit Bill Mueller in Penticton. And this would have been back when I was in high school. I went to high school with Carmen, his daughter, in Penticton back in the day. So there were scientists from all over the world coming to see what he had to talk about, including I don't think Dan Willis came, but Dan Willis, who is with Dr. Sal and Elena, um, Dan Willis did have contact with Carmen because he was going to come and look at one of these machines that Bill had built back in the day, but they never made that happen. But Dan Willis absolutely knows about Bill Mueller and the technologies and what he brought with us. So the next one will be essentially what he saw. I don't know if this is exactly the one that he saw, but this is the technologies that he saw. And this was all from World War II. As a matter of fact, this picture might actually be before World War II, because I know that even in the 30s, beginning
Is
of the
this the one with
30s,
the six? Wait, sorry to interrupt you, but is this the one with
yeah,
the six? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting the right one. Okay, there you go.
yeah. Oh no, it's you're letting the secrets out again.
Ah,
No, it's the that's funny. It's the one with the car and the spacecraft. You did
ah,
that last time too. That's
I'll get
funny.
it. I'll get it.
I love it. No, that's awesome.
There you go.
Oh, so yeah, you can see a really old car and an obvious spacecraft that is levitating. Um, these pictures are super old. Nowadays, you can fake pictures. I mean, maybe they could Photoshop something in there, but I think this picture came from Dr. Sala's book or William Tompkins' book. I don't remember which, but it just goes to show you that they did have this technology, and they had it before World War II. So they were working on it through the 30s. So this is a really small craft, and it might be a prototype or something, but there you have a flying saucer essentially, right? Yeah, and this is
Cool.
Germany, World War II time.
Wow.
Yeah. So the next one will be I talked about the U.S. Air Force making agreements with the Naboo Gray and Sakaar reptilians, and they went behind Eisenhower's back. Um, and what it was MJ-12. There's a whole backstory about that. But this picture is interesting because what you see here is you see an Air Force officer shaking hands with what we call a Nordic, or in today's terms, that would be a Pleiadian. That's a Pleiadian who is they're people just like us, but they're born somewhere else. That's literally what it is. And you can see the guy in the background, the reptilian back there, who's walking away because the U.S. Air Force finally figured out that they were with the bad guys, and then they sent them walking or packing, and then they came and made agreements with the Pleiadians. But the whole time, the U.S. Navy had actually made agreements with the Pleiadians way back, and that's the whole story of William Tompkins that we'll dive into in further shows, because there's so much to talk about with William Tompkins. Yeah, so this is Dr. Sala's book. I highly recommend all of Dr. Sala's books. There is another book that's like this one, but it's on the Navy program. So there's a picture of a Pleiadian shaking hands with a Navy personnel. And again, the Navy was always on the good side of things. And I don't know when the Air Force actually switched over and changed the agreements. It's probably in the book, but again, I highly recommend all of Dr. Sala's books for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the next one will be, I talked about William Tompkins, so we're going to show you what she was trying to reveal last time. She's trying to reveal. She's so excited to show you what happened. So on May 1st of 1958, Bill Tompkins was promoted to the engineering section chief on the middle section of the Apollo rocket. So he did the Rockwell space chart as well. So he actually got to see the live feed of when they landed on the moon, with Neil Armstrong and that. And we did not get to see live feed. What we saw was feed that came in and bounced around a few times, and then they took some, I think, 2 minutes out, and then they doctored it. So what we saw wasn't the truth. This is a drawing that Tompkins made, and you got to remember he was standing watching the live feed at NASA, and this is a drawing that he made of what was on the crater. So essentially, you have 6 very large spacecraft that are part of the Dark Fleet. It was called the Dark Fleet, and this would be the Germans with the Naboo and the reptilians. And we never went back to the moon because we were not allowed. Essentially, they said that we're allowed to do the Apollo missions that they did, but you're not allowed to come back. And we didn't come back until very recently. So I think it was almost 50 years. And recently, things have changed a lot because of the Galactic Federation helping us. So there's a lot of things that have changed. Now, I never had contact with William Tompkins, but I've had contact with 5 men that knew Tompkins personally. And these 5 men, one of them who you know very well is Frank Chili, right?
Yes.
And yeah, Frank Chili, and then Dr. Sala. So Dr. Sala had contact with Tompkins. Dr. Robert Wood, also, who is the main editor of all of Tompkins' books, along with Dr. Sala. They're the editors of Tompkins' books. So they personally met with Tompkins and knew him. And I've had contact with all of these guys. The other person is Jeff Rentz. When Frank Chili asked me on the Jeff Rentz show, was January 13th of this year. Tompkins had been on that show probably at least 20 times. And Frank Chili really is the man, because he actually was probably the man to bring Tompkins out and into the public eye. And of course, Frank is actually the man that released the Rockwell space chart that we'll talk about somewhere down the road.
Right. I
Frank,
want to talk
Frank
about him. I hope he comes on and does it with us. I think that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last person that had direct contact with Tompkins is somebody that I've talked about recently on our podcast is David Wilcock,
Mhm.
the owner of Stevati Aerospace.
Right.
So he had direct contact with Tompkins, and I've only had contact with David Wilcock once, and that was the Zoom call when he told us he was buying Stevati Aerospace to build hover cars, which was like
Mhm.
the most awesome thing I've ever heard, right? So
Right.
that was really cool. Yeah. So now we'll go into uh, the the darker part of things here, and what we're going to show you is um, the same Draco character who walked away from the agreements in the Air Force. There's just another picture of them. And I do know from talking to Rebecca that being in their presence was just horrifying. So they had if the Greys or sorry, the reptilians were being controlled with this nanite technology and ancient AI, then they were projecting whatever that was onto the people, into their consciousness. And the reptilians are able to actually get right into your consciousness and yeah, show you things that are not real, and scare the bejesus out of you, basically. So um, it's it's something that I don't think there are any more physically here, because they were essentially escorted out of our solar system when the Galactic Federation came down on them. I think it would have been a year and a half or maybe 2 years ago now. Yeah, so now we'll go into my friend Rebecca Rose, and she is a highly tuned intuitive. She did I think she's done 4 Akashic readings for me now, and her accuracy is like 100%. I even tried to I even tried to hold some things back from her, like being beamed aboard the starship, and she found it so fast it was ridiculous. Actually, it was kind of neat the way it happened. So Rebecca was also part of the Montauk project, which is experiments in time. When she was a young girl at age 6, she was in something called the Silver Bullet at Montauk, and essentially this is like a time machine. And at one point, she realized that she she found her sovereignty, essentially, because she was in the Dark Fleet. She was like Bill Mueller. She wasn't there by she didn't want to be there, but she ended up there, and a lot of things happened to her. Um, she was a super soldier with the Dark Fleet on Mars and other locations. And if you check out her, I think it's right up there on the screen. It's RebeccaRoseBarfoot.com. I highly recommend you go and check out her backstory, because it truly is incredible. And she essentially went through all of these things to show us the dark side of what was truly going on. A lot of sex trafficking and things like that. She saw. She also ran the jump gate from Dulce, New Mexico base that people talk about to the moon. As a child, young, I think she was like maybe 9 or 10, a young girl. She, because of her psychic abilities, which are, like I said, she's very highly tuned. She was able to operate this jump gate, and normally they need kids to do it, and kids like her with highly tuned intuitive abilities. So the next one is something that I really love. This one is really cool. It's going to be a picture that I call the
Is this the one of her?
yeah, the one, that really nice one.
Okay.
Yeah. So this picture, it's an artist rendition, or somebody, or Rebecca had it done, I believe, by an artist. but is her sitting with one of her more advanced craft, because we talked about the craft that she ran on Mars, and she said it wasn't, it was almost like a converted helicopter that had anti-gravity, where this looks like a lot sleeker and a lot more high-tech craft. So I'm not sure where this was actually, what planet this is depicted, because she did spend time on Mars and other places in our solar system as well. But I really love this picture, and I call this picture Jedi, because essentially she literally is a Jedi who went undercover for the good, for the light, to show us the darkness. And she literally went through hell. I mean, the torture that she went through and the things that she went through are not easy to even think about. But you have to remember that she did this so that we could see and understand what true evil is. So that's why I called her the Dark Fleet double agent for the Intergalactic Confederation, also known as the Galactic Alliance, because now there's so many groups up there that are actually helping. They've actually started calling it the Galactic Alliance. So yeah, that's Rebecca. And there's one more here. I talked about the craft that she had on Mars, and she was telling me that it wasn't that advanced. So that's why I think that that picture was one of her more advanced craft. But this is really interesting because we talk about, it's an email back and forth with me and Rebecca, and she's explaining how the craft is actually operated, and it's operated with consciousness. So essentially, it's the same thing as the helmet for the F-35 that Chris Beskar designed, for example, where you just think something, and let's say a missile goes off, or something else happens in the spacecraft. So it's literally something that you control with your mind. And getting back to the reptilian thing and the whole ancient AI thing, I think that's, again, the consciousness of the people that are on Earth that are still part of the deep state, and I call them the minions of the deep state. They're still doing bad, and that bad will reflect on the consciousness of all of us on Earth. But I think it also connects with that ancient AI somehow, and allows it to be more allows it to work better, which really sucks for us essentially. But that's why we have to really keep our spirits high, and try not to concentrate on the bad things, right? And so next time we're probably going to talk about something that's a little bit less dark, I think. Hey,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah. We have, like she said, 33 shows planned. Some of them are going to be books like for example, a book like this, which is Galactic Federations from Dr. Sala. This book is highly, highly recommended to read. I don't know if you've seen this one. Have you?
Uh, no, that is really cool.
Oh, it's, yeah. I
Who
I know that
who
we
does
have
the art? Do you know who does the art for that? That's beautiful.
no, actually I don't, but we could probably find out, because
Yeah, it's probably in
um
there somewhere. Yeah, it's
yeah.
beautiful.
What's really cool about Potentials, you guys, is Dr. Sala and the William Tompkins books, they've given us permission to use any information in these books. And there is so much information. So we have shows planned where we're just gonna talk about this book, for example. And I think we have, maybe I'll just give them a peek preview if I got it. Oh, I gotta go over here. We're going to, I think Legion and I decided that we're going to do this book next,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I know you love this book. We have a lot in common because we both read this book and really resonated with it, and actually highlighted it like crazy. Like my pages are just, well, you can see all the bookmarks. Actually, I did this morning. There's 22 things in here, and you have to do 11 so that
11.
we have, right? So you do
Okay.
11 and I
Yeah.
do 22, and now we have our 33 things, right?
Yeah.
And we'll see if we pick the same things, right? Because that could be interesting as
Right.
well too. And what's really neat about this book, you guys, is it's Dr. Norma Milanovich, and she actually does Akashic readings as well. And she did an Akashic reading for me. And we talked about it a little bit with that podcast with Frank, you, and Andrea the other
Right.
day when you guys were asking about Soul Tech. That was from the reading that Dr. Norma did. So it sort of kind of ties in. So maybe it is a really good thing that we're going to be doing it soon. And again, I know you love the book so much as I do too, right? So
Right.
that'll probably be coming up next, I think, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
as long so you just got to find your 11 things that you love in there. I mean,
I got
I
home.
I did these 22 things in less than half an hour this morning because
Yeah.
I've already got everything highlighted. Like, the pages are already highlighted with stuff.
Right.
So I just kept flipping along and just putting them in there. And like I said, it'd be really interesting to see if we choose the same ones or not, right? The
I'm
same
sure I could find
sayings.
11. I'm sure I could find 11 things. Yeah. There. It's very. Yeah. That book was highly influential. I think I started reading it during 2020. It's during that period of
During when did you start reading it?
time. 2020.
Oh,
During the.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
So,
a period of time when I was doing a lot of reading, a lot of reading. I was reading a lot of esoteric stuff and the Emerald Tablets.
oh, oh yes.
I was
That,
reading
yep,
hermetic things. I was looking into Helena Blavatsky.
yep.
Um, yeah, so many different things I was reading at the time. Ingo Swann. Um, I was I read like a whole bunch of his books. Like I ordered every single one of Ingo Swann's books and read them all.
Wow. So for those of you that don't know, Lija, we were talking the other day, and she was telling me that she reads like 5 books at once. And
Yeah,
I was like, holy, like I can
that's
read
all.
a book like this in a couple days, but I try to stick to just one book. And a book that we just got given to both of us and Andrea from Frank Chile, I've, uh, I've I'm about 3/4 of the way through it, and it's a fantastic book too, right?
Yeah,
Um, it talks about the Akashic records in ways that I've never heard about, and there's a lot of truths about like Jesus, for example, and what happened in Egypt, and things that were taught with, they were called mystery schools back in the day. And even Jesus, I know, spent, I think it was 18 years in Egypt,
right.
and he would have been doing the mystery schools. He also traveled all over the world, right?
He actually
India.
lived in India. I have a book called
Yep,
Jesus Lived in India.
yep,
I
yep,
read that. So there, yeah, so many things that I learned during that period of time, that just really kind of not really blew my mind, but just really opened my mind to,
yep.
it stretched my mind to the point of, okay, I want more things. I have more room now. I need to know more things. Tell me more things. Show me more things. And that's when I found this right around the time I found Dave's group, Gen Z,
Yep,
and got on calls with them and joined Salt. So everything happened. It just unfolded in a very amazing way that it felt like it was orchestrated, in a good way, not in a ancient AI
absolutely.
way.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that don't know, that's how Legion and I know each other, is from Dave Rossi's group, Gen Z. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And Andrea as well too. That's how I met Andrea, right? And then I made the phone call to Frank Chile that day, and I never expected, because I actually phoned Frank to ask him if he wanted to come on and do the Rockwell space chart with me. that
Yes.
that was the original intent. And then all this stuff just started happening with you and Andrea and Frank, which is fantastic. And I think you have Frank tomorrow and Andrea, don't you?
Yes, yes, we do. And it's like an origami, like, full it's
Yeah,
folding up like an origami sculpture that's beautiful. Um, don't know, I'm not in control of it. It's nothing that I'm doing, so it's awesome. I love it.
yeah. It's
I,
it. Well, this saying comes from Frank, and I got this from Frank. He always says upstairs, right?
yeah.
Um, it's all about what's happening upstairs, and there is a giant plan. Something that was really neat, and I watched it last night. It happened on Sunday. David Wilcock was live with the presentation, but I had other meetings and things going on, so I didn't quite get to it. And I watched about half of it the other day, and then last night I watched the other half, and I texted Legion and said, "You need to check this out," because the the things that he was talking about were incredible, especially the address for the Stargate for Earth.
Yeah, I can actually show that. I can bring that up.
Yeah,
It was
I mean,
really fascinating. I mean, how does he
truly.
find
Well,
this stuff?
he David Wilcock has insiders that, like Pete Peterson, that know all essentially. He just knows the right people. But that is our address. And what's really interesting is the 606 at the end. He
Hmm.
said that it's not location driven because all the other ones are kind of like coordinates,
Hmm.
um, coordinates in 3D to get us where we are. But the 606 thing, he said, that's not a coordinate. He said that in order of when we get what did he say? When we get to a certain point and get a Stargate and have the right consciousness and everything to use it, then we actually get a number assigned to us. So that 606 means that there's 605 other planets that are out there that have that same address, except for, it would be, I think 605 was Venus, I think he said, or Mars, can't remember which one it was.
Well, it's in there. It's in the transcript, and I took screenshots of the transcript, but I don't want to keep trying to bring them up. If I had a different setup here, I would. But
Yeah,
if I will put the link to his video in the description so you can check it out. It's like a right around 46 minutes into the video.
yeah,
Um, you'll find
yeah.
you'll find where he's talking about this, and it's really
Yeah.
fascinating.
And what's really cool, because I don't know if you've watched the whole video. Did you watch the whole thing through to the
I did
end?
watch the whole thing all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because David Wilcock talks a lot about all of the things that I've said in the last two podcasts to do with Stavati. David Wilcock backs up a lot of almost everything that I say there,
Cool.
which is interesting. But we also know that Chris Beskar uh, had those podcasts and watched them because he texted me back and said thank you. So I'm sure that he passed that on to David Wilcock. And that was before, because David Wilcock's thing was live on Sunday. We
Hmm.
did that before.
Right.
So you know, they're
He might have.
obviously watching. They're
Yeah.
watching, which is awesome. Hi, Chris, by the way.
Hi,
Thank
David.
you. And
Thank
hi,
you.
David. Yeah, David is amazing. One thing I want to tell you about David is David Wilcock, Elon Musk, and Nikola Tesla all have IQs around the same. And I think it was around 175 or somewhere around there.
I believe it.
So yeah, so somebody that I know that's in Paula Violette's group talked about David Wilcock, and he said, "Oh, he's got an IQ of 175," and I never really thought about it because I didn't really know. And so then I checked in on it, and of course, yeah. So it was Elon Musk, who actually, guys, I've heard this from two people and another person. Elon is full ET. He
Yeah.
wasn't born here. He wasn't born
Well,
here.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, yeah, like no big surprise there.
yeah, exactly right. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and he says that he's not, but he is. Yeah,
Well,
and
he's gonna
yeah,
say it's not. I mean, why would he? tell people that. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to be relatable to humans. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah,
so.
exactly, right. So it makes me wonder about the other two people too, because Nikola Tesla, um, pretty positive he was from Venus.
Yeah.
He's Venetian, right? Now David Wilcock, I haven't quite figured him out, and I might get you two girls, because I know that you and Angie are really good at figuring this stuff out. Might get you to think about that one. I have a feeling that he's from the same place that we are, which we won't we'll
I'll
say,
ask
right?
I'll ask my pendulum. My pendulum. I don't have it right next to me or anything, but
We were using your pendulum, was it last night or the night
yeah,
before?
yeah, last
Asking
night.
some interesting questions,
Oh
and
yeah,
they all came back very the way that we thought it was going to be
yeah.
too, which was
I mean,
really
I
cool.
use this pendulum to my crystal quartz. It also answers the same way. Um,
So
it's yes.
can you make it work? Can you like
It's
ask a
saying yes.
question?
It's saying yes. He is.
Oh, well,
See
there
it
you go.
going in
Yeah,
circles.
yeah, I do. Okay, wow,
He's
that
definitely from here.
makes a lot of sense. It makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense, actually. Yeah. Um, we actually know, well, that would be four people that we know now, that are from there,
yeah.
right?
No
That
big
your
surprise.
and it was your pendulum that confirmed all of them, actually, right?
Yes.
Because we did the other three last night.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You're gonna have to do more of that on other shows, actually.
Yeah, I will. I'll do it.
So if it went the other way, like when is it
No,
saying no?
no, no is back and forth,
Okay.
and yes is circle. Yeah, you
Ah,
when you first get the pendulum, you kind of program it to you. So
right.
when you first receive the pendulum, it reads your energy, nobody else's. Like if you ask the pendulum the same question, it may not answer you the same way because
Gotcha.
it's not attuned to your energy. It has to be
Your
attuned to
your
the owner,
frequency,
to your
essentially. Yeah.
body and your energy. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know attach your energy to it in whatever way. I kiss it and tell it I love it. That's just my energy. and
um.
uh, and so then and then you ask it questions that you already know the answer to, like, do I have brown eyes,
Oh, right. Yeah.
or was I born in whatever? So whatever already know the answer to. Is my mother still alive? Whatever. So if you want to say no, you want something, you want it to say no so that you know what no is, because each
Yeah.
one is different. Sometimes no is a circle for some pendulums. Sometimes
Oh.
yes is
Okay.
back and forth. So it depends on the pendulum. Each one is different.
Yeah.
So, and possibly your energy is that way too. I don't know how it works, but I know that it's different for everybody. So when you get the pendulum, that's what you do. You ask it no and yes questions that you already know the answer to so that you know what its yes and no is.
Yeah.
And then after that, you could start asking it questions that you don't think you know the answer to. Your higher self probably knows the answer, but
Right.
you
Yeah.
in your limited perception doesn't. So you
Yeah.
ask it questions, and that's how you use the pendulum.
Can you ask it another question for me?
Yes.
And this is
This
a
is,
question. This
I
is
mean, you
your question. This is your question, though, right? It's a question for you,
okay.
and I already know the answer. Um,
Okay.
so the question is, does Legia like snow?
Right. Oh, wow. It just went right away. See, it's going back and forth.
Yep.
That
And that's a big no.
that's a big fat no.
And I can confirm that, everyone out there, definitely, because I live in northern Canada, and we've had talks about what the weather's like, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
she's going to the beach after this, is what she's doing, literally, right?
That's my charging station. I'm going to my charging station
Do you
to
take
get
your
charged.
pendulum with you? Do you
Oh
take
yeah,
it?
I take my pendulum, I take all my crystals, I charge my crystals, and then I send energy out to everyone. Like I take videos. I don't tell you that's what I'm doing, but anybody who watches my videos will receive energy from them,
Oh,
positive.
that's beautiful. I love
So
that.
that's
Yeah.
my mission. That's part of my mission. There's so many different parts of my mission while I'm here, but that's one of them.
And and Legia loves nature. So she told me this story once that she likes to hug trees and give them hugs. So I actually have the proof because she went out and did it for me, and we took a screenshot of it, and it's
Yeah.
so cool. But you actually feel the consciousness of the tree, then, right? It must be the
Right.
vibrations, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The frequency, the energy, the vibration, the soul of the tree, whatever. It actually can communicate with you telepathically or through energy if you
Wow.
connect with it. Yeah, because they're sentient beings, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
you're right. Definitely. Yeah, and that's what we have to realize is consciousness is not just in us. Like you say, there's consciousness in everything. And there's another really funny story about kicking a can.
oh
You told me. I
yeah.
know I'm going to embarrass you.
When I was a kid, yeah, my mom kind of raised me to I was already felt this way, but she kind of kind of encouraged it that I thought that inanimate objects had consciousness. I always felt like they did, you know. So I felt
Yeah.
bad for things, you know. If something was being mistreated, I would feel bad for the object. And so I would see somebody kicking a can down the street and I would feel bad for the can. Like, oh, that poor can. It didn't ask to be kicked. Like, why are you doing that?
Wow, that's beautiful. That is
Weird
so
kid.
awesome. You go above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to that.
I'm just weird. I don't know.
Uh, um, yeah, I think we all are, though. We all are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But no, thank you for that story. That's wonderful. I didn't want to embarrass you, but I thought I might do it anyway. So
Yeah. I'm used to it.
so cool.
Well, we are nearing the end of our little thing here. I did want to say one thing about that episode with the video with David Wilcock that he just said. He mentioned that new potentials are developing in our souls right now, and that we have unlocked talents that are becoming, you know, they're becoming real. We're manifesting them. So that like telepathy is one of those things, and I think that's really exciting because I've been feeling a more of a telepathic connection with people that I've never had before. Like, you know, people that normally wouldn't be communicating with me telepathically are doing it now.
Yeah,
And I can connect with other people that way easier too. So I just want to say let's give this a shot. You know, let's try this. Let's become more telepathic, everyone, and it's not something to be afraid of. People were afraid, I don't want people reading my thoughts or whatever. It's not like that. You're not constantly reading each other's minds, but you're sending each other like thoughts of, hey, I'm thinking of you, or hey, I love you, or
yeah,
um, you know, something good, and then they're picking it up and feeling it. So it's a good thing. So don't be afraid of telepathy. It's really a cool thing. That's just my
yeah,
little thing. And if you want to watch
absolutely.
that part, it's around 45 minutes and 11 seconds into David Wilcock's um, video, which I'm going to put in the description.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. Yeah. And thank you for having me on again.
thank you for being on. Thank you for like doing this whole all these episodes with me because I think they're going to be stellar.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, that's for sure. And yeah, we planned them out with numbers with 11 actually, because 1111, you even have a song that's called 1111, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah, and it's special. I'll tell you a little story. My brother and sister are twins, and it was my brother that was born first, and then my sister. And my brother was born at 1108 or something like that. And my mom had this clock on the mantle, but it didn't work. It was just, she had it there because it was nice, right? It didn't work. And all like throughout their whole lives, Mark would go along and he'd set it to 1108 because that's when he was born. And then his twin sister Lori would come along, and she was born at 1111. So
Wow.
she would go and set it to 11:11, and my mom watched this like throughout her whole life, right? They constantly did it back and forth, right? So it's kind of funny, but yeah, 11:11 is very,
Really
very
cool.
special. Yeah,
I like that.
angels, right? That's what I
Yeah,
gathered.
it's an angel number, but it's also cool 1108 because 8 is the infinity number, right? You
I
turn
never
8
thought
sideways.
about that. Yeah,
So kind of like going, it's like oscillating between infinity and 1108, like, so that's cool. I like that. That's
yeah,
a cool
that's
story.
really cool. I never thought about that. Yeah,
I
yeah,
just popped into my head. I
yeah.
don't
You're
know.
amazing. You have an awesome consciousness that's
Thank you.
that's expanding, because that's what we
Yes.
all are truly here to do, right? Is to,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Woo,
expand our
for that.
consciousness. Yeah.
Yes. So when people say woo woo, I think of woo woo. They don't get me up. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't care. I'm
Yeah,
woo.
yeah. That the first time I ever heard woo is actually from you.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I was like, I knew what you were talking about when you said it, but I just never heard it that way. And I've heard a couple other things that you said to me that were like hilarious, but I won't repeat them.
Okay. I have no idea who you are. Oh boy. Well, it's been a pleasure once again, Ed. I always love doing these with you, so I'm looking forward to more of these, and
Absolutely.
we'll return, everyone. Keep watching. Tell us what you think in the comments. We love that. And then, you can also support me on Patreon. I just started a Patreon page. It's not a whole lot on there yet, but there will be, and it's going to be badass. So Patreon, it's Patreon Potentials Podcast.
Awesome.
So that's how you would find me there. So thank you, and thank you for subscribing and liking my channel, because you've been really awesome lately. All my viewers, thank you. This, can't thank you enough, because it really means a lot to me that you're doing this, and that you really are supporting not just what I'm doing, but what all of my guests are doing, and how they're really helping to um, accelerate what we're trying to do, like this awakening and this, everything moving in a better direction. That's what we're trying to do here. So
Yeah.
that's what Potentials is all about. We have the potential to become better and to do better things for the world and make this a better place. So let's keep doing it. And thank you.
Yes,
So ciao
definitely.
for now, everyone. We will see you later next time.